All righty. So what do you think? Are y'all there's a dark
Um,
side to y'all?
say it again. I think it's absolutely true. I mean, I think that women that actually want high value men, um, they should make sure that that's something that they really want because it's going to come with its challenges. Most women they just assume that being a high value man is like the women that they see on Instagram or TikTok where they have a high value man and all they're doing is going on vacations and traveling and things like that. But um, he's doing a lot more unless he's retired from a job, which is different. So that's different than an entrepreneurial high value man because if he's running a company, I mean, he's going to be quite busy. There's just going to be, a lot that goes into that, depending on how needy she is. So I think a woman understanding herself and her needs is a good indicator on if she's able to be with a man that's high value. Because a lot of women have their own needs. And then if they come with a lot of insecurities, that could provide some challenges as well because he's going to be getting work done and he might be working late, but then she might think he's in the basement or upstairs or in his office or whatever talking on the phone. But he ain't got time for that. He's kind of he's busy, and unlike what Kevin Samuels was saying, high value men have all this time. um, you know, they do have more time, but at times they don't. So there's times when I have lots of time. I mean, that's when you would see me on Clubhouse every day. I had lots of time, and lots of employees was making money for me and working and things is going good. And I'm able to just spend my time how I wish. And those are times that we're able to do a lot of things that you might see, on TV or on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or wherever you might go. Then you're going to see some of those things that we do, but I would say that those are, there are particular seasons for that. And usually the season for me, because of my business, that's more like a January, February, March time frame. After the Christmas holidays, so, and then maybe a little bit during the summer. And then sometime around September, man, we start kicking in gear, getting ready for the holidays and Black Friday. And I get pretty busy during that time. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. So I was having this conversation, and I know a lot of women. They want when I hear them talking about what they desire, I know that they're talking about those men, high value men. Even if they try to deny it, they say no, I don't want that. I'm like, that's what you're describing, right?
Hmm.
And then so I have to start then asking them questions about, oh, okay, do you have an understanding of what that entails? Or I have women approach me, reach out to me, want to get coaching sessions, and trying to understand the men that they're attracting. Like LeTisha, it is so hard, it's so difficult, and so I'm like, okay, what's the issue?
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
The number one thing is the expectancy of submission
Hmm.
when they start taking you, when they start dating you. Cooperativeness, submission, um, understanding that um, they're leading in the relationship, that they're looking for someone who is very agreeable, someone who's pleasant, and someone. But the biggest thing is women have to understand that your vision is not the focus. His vision for the family is going to be the focus. Um, and he's looking for someone who understands him and his lifestyle and getting on board with that. And so, what's happening with a lot of women is they're not understanding that, they're having a difficult time with that, and so they're getting left. The train is leaving the station without them. And so, I've told them there's three things that you have to understand when it comes to high value men, and that's one: be prepared to be submissive, expect competition, and don't try to change the man, right? Because I know a lot of women try to do that leading from the bottom or manipulative behavior where they're, well, he's too demanding, or it's so difficult because um he doesn't listen to me, he doesn't listen to my ideas. And I'm like, well, your ideas for what? Like, are we talking about your
No,
ideas for children?
man, I have that problem so much. I mean, that's mainly when you're dealing with women that have low self-esteem. I mean, it's like they want to build their self-esteem off of what you're doing. So they're not really doing anything themselves. So they have to come in and say, well, let me help you do this, or let me show you how to do that. And it's like, uh, I mean, really, it's like, why don't you just shut the hell up? It's kind of like that. That's how you be thinking in your mind. And then you have to kind of switch, because even it's because it's weird. It's almost like you're managing all these people at work and employees and all this kind of stuff. And it's weird to have somebody come to you and say, let me tell you what to do. That's really weird. And it may not be, and I think from the outside looking in, with your woman saying, well, you know what, I'm your woman. Well, but she doesn't necessarily understand, his angle of where he's coming from, because he's the lead and he's leading everywhere he goes. And then there's this person that doesn't she doesn't know anything about his business, right? You understand? You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening.
Oh,
I'm
don't
like,
don't mute.
you're
Don't
just
mute. Don't
you
mute. You need to stay
oh
off
I
mute. Nah, this
you
ain't Clubhouse, baby. This is
oh
not.
my
We
god.
stay live with it. If you start laughing or you start cringing, man, we want to hear all of that. All of
Hold
that.
on. Wait. That's another thing. Ladies, they want access to you. When they're dealing with you, they want access to your mind,
Full
your body, your
100%.
emotions, your feelings. They want access to it.
Everything. All of that. Yes. Yeah, but like I was saying, it's like having somebody that all of a sudden, I mean, it would be different if my woman, she knows marketing or something like that and she could help with that. I mean, but then I'm just gonna say, oh, okay, well, here, you can go do that, and I'm just gonna give her that to do, and she could just do that. But as far as, like, a lot of them want to tell you how to run the company. They just want to, I don't know. I think I mean, I actually do know it's really insecurity. I've had that happen a lot of times. I mean, how about you, man? They're gonna have that happen. It's like when a woman is, she's dating you because she really kind of wants to be you. So it becomes
Ooh,
more of a competition. So she's dating you for the wrong reason. She's dating you because she wants to be a go-getter. She wants to be a man. She wants to be the person that just goes out there and goes and gets it. So she's gonna basically, you know, uh, you know, try to uh she's going to be trying to tell you gently what to do here and there, and if her self-esteem is low, you're going to have to be like having to give her kudos. Oh yeah, baby, that's a great idea. Oh yeah, well, you know what, oh well, yeah, that's good, I like that idea. But really you're thinking, like, she's coming to you saying, hey honey, let me show you how to cook some baby food. Okay baby, but we eating steak over here, but the baby food, yeah, that's good. Thank you. I'll eat some of that. Give me that. Oh yeah, that baby food is good. You okay, baby? Now, all right, now go back in there and watch Married at First Sight. Go ahead, go ahead. All right. I'll be down in a minute. Now leave me alone. Let me finish what I'm doing. I ate
she
some of the
wants
baby
to
food. All right.
feel involved. She wants to feel important in the relationship.
She don't need that. Has the relationship and the business have nothing to do with each other.
That's true.
She don't need to feel important in my business. My business has been important long before I met her. It's going to be important long when she gone. So there's no need for her to feel important in terms of the business. I mean, it's there's no need for that.
Because
She's important in my life, but
I think
go ahead. Mhm.
I think women have just been socialized that that's where their value lies. Is that the only value they have is being useful to a man in the way of helping him make money, right? And
Mhm.
you talk about, you men just want their woman to be because they're doing, so they just need a woman to be. And women don't understand that there needs to be synergy. There needs to be harmony. There needs to be balance, and the balance doesn't look like you both trying to do One has to be doing, and one has to basically just being. And she wants to feel important and feel like she has value. But I don't. It's like your value lies in
They're
just being
basically
themselves.
look. They're coming in trying to. They're they're basically acting as if you're like not a high value man is what they're doing. They're basically treating you like what Kevin Samuel said. He said one of them 50-50 dudes. They're treating you like a 50-50 dude. And that's really where the problem is. So they come in this relationship and they're like, okay, I'm not used to high value man, so I'm just going to treat you like a 50-50 dude, like I've been doing. Well, you know what, you've been, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to get the same result, but you're just not going to get any good result with a high value man, because he's not going to need you to treat him like a 50-50 dude. You need to treat a 50-50 dude like that. Now, if you're pro at 50-50 dudes, man, he wants you to come in and help him. He going to need your advice. He gonna need your insight. He gonna be just as insecure as you are. Y'all gonna be insecure together, and that's nothing wrong with that, because he gonna be needing that input. He gonna be needing you to stroke him. And I don't mean stroke him in the way I like it. I mean he can need you to stroke his ego. He gonna need you to stroke it. But how about you, man? We don't need you to stroke us. At least not our ego, but we do need some stroking. If you know what, I'm not joking.
Wait, you don't think some ego stroking is necessary? You don't think that's
No,
needed?
I don't know. High value men don't know. No. Now there may be high value men that have low egos that need their ego stroked. But a man that's successful, he don't need his ego stroked. He's not even gonna want his ego stroked. He's not gonna even want to bask in that little femininity side where a woman says, "Oh, come here, baby," and kind of mother him. He's not gonna want that, because that makes him. I mean, how would a man? I mean, just think about it. Okay, so I would liken running a $1 million company like war, because you're constantly getting shot at. You constantly got crap going on, stuff happening that nobody sees. And you know what? If nobody sees it and nobody knows about it but you, it means you're doing a good job. But here's my point. My point is that when all of those bombs are going off and things are exploding and all kind of stuff is happening, then okay, so he's got to be ready for bombs the next day and seeing his friend get shot up and having to be able to deal with that. And then he goes to back to the bunker where his wife is there, and she's like, "Oh, you poor baby. Oh, I'm so sorry that everything's happening like it is. Oh, is there anything you want me to do for your boss?" No, there ain't nothing. No, I definitely don't need that. What I need is somebody that's not going to try to make me rest in my femininity where I can get out here and take these shots and bust some asses out here again tomorrow. You can't do that if you say it sitting down, resting in your effing femininity when you're trying to be a man and trying to make things happen, because you don't want to fall into your weakness. You don't want to fall into your weak side. All men have a weak side. You don't want to fall into that. That's why men, even alpha males, high value men, they don't really need that baby and that mothering, because every man has an inner bitch, and it's like you can stroke that and it'll come out. And women want to do that. That's what they do to their sons. They'll stroke that and he'll become that, and he'll continue to be that, and he won't be able to deal with nothing. Then when something happened tough to him, he crying. But he got to, and then oh, mama, can you help me? No, no, dude, you need to get off your ass and make something happen. That's how it is. But see, women don't expect that, because they feel like that's, being too tough on him. But, as a man, I mean, the world is tough. And many of the women out there that's actually trying to be the men are gonna see that soon, because they're gonna see that the world is tough, and they're gonna see how tough it really is for men that are out there doing everything that they got to do. Because now women have to come home after working a hard, long day at work and stressing and all of this kind of stuff, and dealing with a boss that sucks, dealing with somebody that don't know what they're talking about, dealing with somebody that don't really have the knowledge that you have and that don't want your input. Now women have to deal with that, just like the men. And now she has to come home and still cook and clean and all of that. Now, granted, she's single, But now she has no man there, and she still got to come home and cook and clean and take care of the kids. That's got to happen anyway. So you doing that whether you got a man in the house or not. But you still got to do that. So now, women have to do that. Now they're gonna have to see like what you have to deal with to be able to wake up the next morning and be tough the next day. You can't do it by going home that night and crying the night before. That's just not gonna work. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. So, all right. Okay. So you guys don't need your ego stroked, but would you say that you actually have a big ego?
Nah. See, that's a misconception. I think people see it as big ego. They see high value men and alpha males as having big egos. There's a difference between being where you are, and then thinking that you're more than where you are, and then thinking that you're less than where you are. A man that is successful, he's gonna think of himself as where he is, and he's going to think of himself as, here's where I am, but he's going to always look at himself as, but that's not where I want to be. Like, here's who I am, but this is not who I want to be. I read about 6 books this week. They say the average CEO reads about 12 books a month. 6 books this week. Yep. And most of them are on self-actualization, just yourself, being able to deal with just different things within yourself. It's like, men that are high value and alpha males, and that's why women they date the wrong men, because they don't really know what to look for. I was watching Kendra G, is that what it's called? I was
Uh,
watching Kendra G, and she was saying how one lady was on there that, she said, well, what do you want in a man? She said, oh, I just want him to be this tall, and I want him to be, just a nice person, and and this and then that, and that's it. I'm thinking like, okay, well, that's why you having a hard time, because you picking the wrong dudes. You need to pick a dude you need to have a better standards. And then after a while, they keep picking the wrong dudes, and then they start saying, I'm raising my standard. I know my worth. No, you should have had your standards based on his values long time before that. I'm not even gonna go into that. So,
okay.
but
So would
yeah,
you say that high value men, that you all are difficult, very demanding?
I would say that to people that do not have boundaries, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Because high value men tend to have very strong boundaries. Very strong boundaries. That's why when Kevin Samuel said, yeah, man, they don't have no dick control. Well, no, high value men have very strong boundaries. So they're going to have dick control. He just don't need to control his dick unless he want to control it, but he can control it if he want to. I mean, it's like you can't become successful without having those particular traits. It's like it's a package deal. Like you can't become successful without having some traits of doing certain things in certain ways. I mean, of course, you can have, but now you have honest business owners and you have dishonest business owners, but typically that's pretty easy to see. But that goes back into values. So so yeah, so some people would say that, yeah, well, I think people without boundaries, they're going to have a hard time. I think people that are fake are going to have a hard time, because, most high value men and CEOs, the level of emotional intelligence is going to be high, LeTisha. It's going to be high. So he's going to be able to read people and they're not even going to know. Like, part of your job is being able to see through people. It's just part of your job. I mean,
Mm.
every person that's ever worked for me has to come through me. So everybody else gets to interview them. Not everybody, of course, but the HR, but they interview them, but then they got to come see me. So, and the questions I ask, are going to be a little bit different. I ask different questions. I'll ask something that's just off the cuff. Most people are like, well, so what do you think the best position that the most ideal position that you could have in this company? I don't ask silly shit like that. I'm going to ask, what is the least ideal position that you would want to have in this company? That's what I'm going to ask you. Oh, the least ideal, but they don't know. I'm checking their values. I'm like, okay, so where's your humility? I want to see where it is. I want to see what you're gonna say. And I have women say, well, you know what, I just don't want to work in the bathrooms. Well, you know what? I just read I know where she's at. She told me where she's at. She told me where humility is. And then there's other women that will say, well, I just do whatever you need me to do. And I'm like, okay, that's a person that's humble. People that are humble, you can lift them up. People that are not, you need to leave them where they at.
That was excellent point. So people who are humble, you can lift them up, and people who aren't, you gotta leave them where they at.
Yeah, man, you're gonna have a whole lot of sound bites tonight, god damn it.
I disagree with y'all not being demanding. I think so. When I say the dark side, I don't look at it as it makes you bad men. I just think that the standard to be with you guys are much much higher, and so when I
Yeah,
think
but why is that considered demanding? I mean, the standard for being beautiful with beautiful women is high, but do we say that they're demanding? No.
no,
We could though, but we could say, well, you're demanding. You want somebody 6'5". Well, I'm not 6'5", but you're demanding. You're demanding that you want somebody 6'5". Well, no, you're not going to say that. What you're going to say is, oh, but these are just my standards. Well, that's the same for the man. See, but right now, the way women see it is they only see it from their own perspective, and you know where that comes from? Selfishness. That's the key problem with society right now. It's everybody's focused on themselves. And that's what they've done with black women. And now black men have caught on to that. And black men are saying, well, you know what? What you gonna bring to the table for me? Yeah, okay. Now he talking that same nonsense. And then she talking about, well, what a man gonna do for me? Well, now she been talking that nonsense. That's her. That's selfishness. That's her being extremely selfish. And it's him being extremely selfish. And why are black people so selfish? It's because we ain't never had shit. When you selfish, when you coming out the hood where it ain't nothing there, and then you get $1 in your pocket and you're acting like you ain't gonna get nothing the next day. You're always acting like you fucking hungry. That's the problem. That's the problem. So if a woman not always acting like she's hungry, then she's gonna be fine. She's gonna be fine. Same thing with the dude. If you're not always acting like you're hungry, you're gonna be fine. And the difference between high value men and a lot of these other dudes is we ain't hungry and we ain't acting like we hungry. We're not hungry for pussy. We're not hungry for money. We're not hungry for nothing. So
ooh,
when
that's
it comes to a relationship, we hungry for a woman to be a woman, but we're not hungry for her to work because we're not thinking about money. But now if she is, that's gonna be a problem because she's hungry. But she's hungry for something that she don't even understand. And I won't even go into what being hungry for money is going to do, in terms of high value man. I mean, because that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah,
you
but
just
I don't think it's demanding at all. I mean, but some people might say that, but I don't think it's demanding. I think it's just saying, setting a standard. Here's a standard and saying, hey, here's what I want. And the person just agrees to it or not. But is it demanding because he says, hey, this is what I want? It's only demanding when she says, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, then,
well,
okay, well, you don't have to do that.
but when I
But you
say
don't have to be with me, though.
okay, when I say demanding, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that your requirements are high. What you require is higher. Your standards are so much higher, and most men don't demand nor command that.
That's
So
because the standards in character are higher. But the standards in terms of looks and all that type of stuff, the only guys that you see that are high value that are dating women that look that good are men like Jeff Bezos, a simp that ain't never really had nothing and he never had an opportunity to be with a badass female. But I mean, but if you're a man, you've been with bad females. I mean, with good looking female, you're not gonna be just tripping over that because you'd have had that, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, kicked it in the ass, and rode it down the street. I mean, you done all of that. So you ain't tripping on none of that. So I'm just saying, even some of these high value man imposters. I mean, see, the rhetoric that you're gonna hear from me that's different from some of them bitch ass niggas you hear on Clubhouse is that my rhetoric comes real. My shit's real. I'm doing this shit fucking for real. Like for real. People can look me up, come to my goddamn business. I'm there. It's real. It's a real ass warehouse, real ass employees, real shit going on. And yes, and I'm the real motherfucking boss up in there. Nobody else. Just
So
me.
many shorts coming out of this dialogue.
You say what? You say,
So many shorts. I can
hey
see
man, I
so
got to
many
give you some
shorts. So
content,
many.
baby. I got to give you some
Listen,
content. You got a
so
new
many
YouTube
clips.
channel, your inaugural. You it's about to be popping over here.
Oh my gosh!
In the
I could
matchmaker. We in the matchmaker, god damn it.
I could just see the clips. So I'm gonna have to make some clips off of what the two things you said. There was some great gems, and you stood very firm on it. And I think that's what women need to understand. I think the way that high value men talk, like high powered men, the way that you guys talk, I don't think a lot of women can handle that. Right? You're passionate. Um, you're bold and you say what you have to say and you stand on it. And I think that's another problem that a lot of women have, and not accepting that. And then they try to change that about you, right? Like I'm not, like I'm over here cringing because all the cussing, right?
No, yeah,
Because
yeah.
you know me.
I'm actually trying to ease up on that myself even now. But some of the things I had to say,
Right, but you know
because
me
it
from
doesn't,
Clubhouse.
it doesn't.
I'm like, no cussing on the stage.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
like, you know what? Just let it rock. Just let it rock. I mean, this is how they are. Like I'm used to it, right? You guys
It's
are
just my
very,
it's just my
yeah.
passion. It's
Yeah.
passion. It's
And
passion.
that's a lot of passion, boy. That's some
Yeah, man, it's
good story.
passion. Man. Because because on Clubhouse, man, you don't hear me, do too much. I just be up there kind of like sitting
I
there
just
chilling.
hope I got the settings right. What is it? The when your content is not for young children.
Oh well, yeah, they all none of the content on YouTube is set for children. All of it's 18 and above.
Okay. Oh well,
Yeah.
they have like YouTube children or something.
Yeah, they
Something.
got it. Yeah, they had to change that. They have a
Oh,
YouTube children's now. So none of the content is for children. It's none of it. So
okay.
so yeah.
All right.
So YouTube ain't gonna, you can say a few things. But yeah, yeah, but I'll lighten it up.
No, just be yourself. You're fine. You're a guest here, so you're fine. It's YouTube. It's not Clubhouse. But I was just like, wow, like he is really really spitting right now, as the young kids would say. Like he is really like I don't think women understand that. High value men know where they are. Like you guys know where you are. You understand your self worth, and you're not gonna put yourself down on a level that you don't belong on, right? But I think a lot of women, their problem is they do want to humble you all so that it's easier to be with, because it's not easy per se, for a lot of women who have never dated or been in a relationship with a high value man. They're not in proximity to them. um, for a man to stand very firm on what he is saying, a lot of women aren't comfortable with that because of the way that we're socialized.
Mm,
But when you're like, it's this is my show, this is the way it goes. um a lot of women will push back on that because, like we were talking about earlier, they're trying to find value in the relationship dynamic, and the way that they see that they're valuable to you is through their resources and their work ethic and how they
mm,
can help their business, and but not understanding that all you need is just for them to be a woman, to be that soft side, be that peace, um, and just be available, and a woman you can have access to, and understand the lifestyle, like you mentioned earlier, that y'all work a lot. You're gonna some of y'all are gonna work a lot, gonna have very long hours, and she needs to be understanding of that. Some of women need to understand that what you see on TV, taking all those trips, that's not gonna happen. But they will set aside and make time. And when they do make time for a trip, oh, it's going to be the blast. You're going to go somewhere great. But having them all up under you, no. And I think, yeah, it comes down to women dealing with lesser men, lesser mid value to lower value men. And then they're going to come with this mindset and this expectation that, well, because I was able to lead him by the nose, I was able to manipulate him into doing what I want him to do or get what I want, then you should be easily manipulated as well. But then all that does is cause the man to decide, I don't want to deal with you, right? Y'all sniff out BS very quickly, very early on. That's what you're looking for. Like, what is her intentions? Is she here for me? You're gonna sniff it out. A lot of that comes in the heart, like the questions, like even the questions and the communication style that you all have. Women will struggle with that. I find when women come to me seeking advice that they are struggling with the communication aspect, that um, having to be so vulnerable and open, right? Having to give so much access to their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions. And they struggle with that. I don't know why that is, because I'm like, I know that they'll do it for lesser men when there's a high sexual desire to that man. But I think, yeah, they struggle with that. So I'm trying to get them to understand that, listen, it's great up here, it's great in this lane, it's great to have a high value man, but a lot is going to be required of you because he's already established the requirements for himself and he's already met all of your requirements, right? Successful, ambitious, driven, disciplined, confident, hardworking, reliable, and he's already got the money that you don't want. He can provide you with the lifestyle that you want. So it's like, what are you bringing, right? What are you bringing now? And women struggle with that. They struggle with the thought that they have to bring something more, like intangibles. So,
That this is gonna be an interesting take on it, but I think that insecure women struggle with that because if a woman is not secure, then it means that she's gonna need to show value to him to feel secure. But if she already feels valuable within herself, then she's not gonna have to show value to her man because she already knows her value. She already knows her worth. She already knows in her mind that, yeah, this man wants to be with me. He's here with me. He wants me. He's not trying to be with somebody else. He's spending his time with me. I'm in this house. I'm sleeping in this bed. I'm the one that's feeding him. I'm the one that he's coming home to. When a woman is secure like that, then she doesn't need to try to chase his dream for him. She can chase her own dream. Soundbite. Boop. Did I lose you?
no, you didn't lose me. Yeah, I agree. A lot of women, wow, you said they're insecure. Ooh. Um,
You know what, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on that. I would say that most women are insecure, and most men as well, and it's because but we think of insecurity as, oh well, yeah, well, I think that he cheating on me. No, I'm talking about women. When I say insecure, I mean it means that you don't feel safe. This is why you see women chasing being she's chasing the bag. But what she's really doing is she's chasing fear of poverty. That's really what she's chasing. She's chasing the fact that's why when you hear them argue, they'll say, oh, well, who gonna take care of me and my kids? No, I got to do it by myself. Ain't no man gonna take care of me. That's because she feels that she's gotta turn that on. She's got to turn on something inside herself to make herself go out there and get it. And that's just a side of herself that is a it's more of a survival mechanism that women turn on. And that's not a bad mechanism to have. It's just a mechanism that you have to be able to turn off once you get where you need to be. Because I had to have that getting to a certain point where I was in my life, from age about 24 to about 35. And that's what got me to where I was at that time. But at some point, I had to look at myself and say, okay, D, you need to kind of turn that off now, because I was chasing uh, the fear of going back to the status that I was in. So I was saying, oh, I can't let that happen. I can't go backwards. I can't go back to where I was. I can't go back to the lifestyle that I had before. I can't let that happen. So I was moving based on what I did not want to happen in my life. That's basically moving based on fear. And what I had to do is get to a point where I changed my methodology and say, okay, so now I've gotten so far based on my fear, but that's not necessarily a healthy way to continue your life. So you have to say, okay, now I need to take that fear off the table and start moving based on my faith in myself, looking at the past things that I've done and using those things to actually help me get to the things that I choose to do. Soundbite.
Right.
I'm just joking. I'm really not, but I'm just saying.
No, so I'm just as you were talking, I was just going over my head, like what would I tell like some of the things I've told my daughter, my mentees,
Mm-hmm.
the ladies, because I don't they're not going to be expecting um how how on point they're going to need to be, and
To be the what? To be what? To
to
be
be
a high
with
value
me.
man, or just to be what? Just to be
No,
what? Successful?
to be with a high value man. To be with a high value man, you have to be on point. Like,
Not really. Not really. I mean, not
like
really.
you can't just be any kind of way. You can't just.
Not really. I would say that high value men are more about being with women that are willing to grow. That's really why a lot of high value men date women that are younger. Is because he wants to date a woman that is still in a growth stage where she can still learn, that she's willing to listen and grow. And the problem today is that a lot of women, they don't really, that insecurity. They're not really trusting. So they're not vulnerable enough to be able to say, well, you know what, let me listen to what this man is saying. Nor is it that they're going to look at him and say, you know what, he's gotten to this certain level or a certain status, so let me trust that he obviously knows what he's talking about. No, they're going to argue with him. That's why you see so many people arguing with people with high value men on Clubhouse. Is because even the men do it. They're going to argue with him as if he doesn't know what he's talking about. But he didn't get to the level that he's gotten to by baking cookies. He got there. There's a lot of different traits that he had to have to be able to get there. A lot of things that he had to do. A lot of things that he had to learn. I mean, for me to get to the level that I've gotten to, I had to deal with I had to deal with a lot of white people. I had to deal with a lot of black people. I had to deal with white personalities. I've had to take courses in all types of stuff, seminars and all types of stuff. I had to sit in long meetings, just learning stuff, listening to people, just 20 something, 25 years of that, 30 years, almost 30 years of that, of just learning stuff. And, and you just end up having a lot of information. And what you need somebody that's willing to understand that what you're talking about. But the problem is that most people come from an environment where most of the people that are around them don't know shit. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I need another word that I can use. Ish. So most people around them don't know ish, especially the men. So then it makes women say, well, you know what? I'm not used to a man that knows anything, because most the men I've been around don't know ish. So if most of the men I've been around don't know nothing, I don't even know how to deal with this man that knows these things. I don't even know if I should trust what he's telling me, because usually when a man is telling me such great information, he's usually trying to take advantage of me. He's usually trying to get sex out of me, or trying to take my money, or trying to this, or trying to that. That's because she's so used to dating low value men. So, so, and really, this high value thing, I think it's really more about character and values, because that's really where it starts. Because you can be somebody that has a certain character and it not equate to money immediately, because it takes a long time. I mean, the average black millionaire doesn't make his first million until he's 50. And I made my first million in my 40s. I think I was 45. And the average white millionaire doesn't make his first million until he's 40. But what we do is we'll look at people like Bill Gates, people like Jeff Bezos, people like Mark Zuckerberg, and we'll look at the top people on earth and say, oh, okay, you know what? They did it when they was 25. Well, they did it when they was 30. Well, yeah, each one of them stole something, except Amazon. But Bill Gates stole something. He stole his stuff. Facebook, he stole his stuff. All Mark Zuckerberg know how to do is steal and copy. That's it. That's all he knows how to do. He can't change Instagram. That's why Instagram sucks right now, because he's trying to turn Instagram into TikTok. Why? Because he's not an innovator. He don't really know how to, So anyway, let me get off of that. But yeah, yeah, great room, LeTisha.
So no, when I was talking about they need to be on point, I was talking about the mindset that they do need to understand that being uh, disagreeable, having walls up, not willing to grow, not willing to learn, not willing to understand, it's gonna make the journey difficult. So you have to be on point with your mindset. You have to be on point with the basic understanding of your role and his role, and how
Mm-hmm.
you need to align in his life, align with his life essentially. A lot of women think that they can come in with their own program and have things how they want it. Um, but yeah, I've not heard a high value man say that they were going to adopt the woman's program. They're always looking for the woman to adopt theirs. So she has to
Yeah.
immediately.
That's a good point. It's got, yeah, I could. That was funny. Yeah, that would be kind of weird, because then he wouldn't be high value. No, I mean, would a woman respect a man like that? I don't think so.
Yeah, so let's get into some other dark sides, some other the other darkness about
All right, juicy, juicy, juicy. Okay, cool.
um would you say that you all are dominant?
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, why did you say it like that? Oh yeah.
Yeah, because that's one thing about high value alpha males or whatever. I mean, well, I would say a high value man that is a CEO that has good emotional intelligence, he's going to have to know his weaknesses and his strengths. So he's going to have to be reading that at all times, and scanning the room, scanning the environment. Like when you said, "Oh yeah, the cursing," you said that gently, but then still, a true high value man with good emotional intelligence is not going to continue to curse, even though you say it's okay, he's fine. He's just not going to do it, and he's going to stop doing it immediately. Why? Because they're going to have boundaries and control. That's just what they're going to do. But now, the men that you might see that don't do that, it means that they're like the men on Clubhouse. Most of those guys are frauds. Even the ones that you think that are not, even the ones that make it sound like they are. Most of those guys are frauds. But when you get men that are really high value, most of them do not have time to sit on Clubhouse. They just don't. They don't. And the difference with me is that Clubhouse was a marketing arena for me. So Clubhouse was marketing, just like YouTube is marketing for me. But most of these other guys that are high value men, they don't own $1 million beauty brands like me. So my whole stilo is about women That's my customer. So of course, I'm going to do everything I can to to reach more of my potential customers, and that's what Clubhouse is to me. But a lot of dudes is on there for, and YouTube and all of this. Like, I'm not really on YouTube to make the dollars that YouTube gonna give me. I don't care about that. I care
So,
about other things.
so yeah, so you made an interesting point. Um, I noticed that the men who were high value, I didn't have that problem. Like once I, said, "Oh, there's no cussing," um, they would stop. Sometimes I'd have to give a second warning, like, "Oh, there's no cussing," but for the most part, they were very cordial, very respectful. I've never been respected by a man who I would consider a high value man. Now, the disrespect came from a lot of, like you said, frauds, the ones who want to think that they're high value, they want to just base it on the criteria that they fit in, or just low value men, poor men who didn't have the emotional intelligence. And that's what I like, that you said the high emotional intelligence, because that is something very, very important, very essential, because you guys are making deals, right? Some shakers and some movers, and you can't afford to let your feelings and your emotions get in the way of you getting to the bag. And also, you said something earlier when we were talking where even the woman has to be able to control her wait, was that you or somebody else? The woman has to control her emotions and not let her emotions get the best of her, because that will mess up his bag. Ooh.
You know, a man, an emotionally intelligent man, it shouldn't mess up his day. Although it does, it still does, because, we still do have emotions. I mean, of course, you wouldn't want to be with a man that has no emotion, especially with women being emotional beings. But in terms of, a high value man, with emotional intelligence, he's going to have to, I give you an example. So the things that I'm reading are all about emotions, are all about understanding people, understanding how people move, understanding why people do what they do, and so that when I deal with people, and I'm not just talking about in deals. See, a lot of people think that, and of course the deals and things like that are important, but those things are easier. Like it's easy to do a deal with somebody, because when you do a deal, it's something that's mutual. It's not like I just do a deal and then they don't get anything, and then all of a sudden I just get their money. It's more difficult to deal with employees. That's more difficult because there's no deal. You know, you're paying them and they have to do the work. But the deal, there's no contract deal where I can sue them for not doing anything. They have to voluntarily do it because I can't make them a slave. So you have to have you have to have some coercion. You have to be able to have control of the environment. A lot of people don't even know this, but if you look up um, managing, that one of the words in managing, and women say, yeah, men are controlling. Well, certain men, these type men are controlling. Well, if you look up the word managing, control is one of those words that are defined in management. It's control. Part of that is that you have to manage, you have to control the environment, you have to control people, you have to control things to make sure that they go a certain way. And that's what you're going to be doing. And you're not just going to do that in the workplace, you're going to do that in every place because you're going to want to see things be successful. And you're going to control environments to make sure that they succeed if you are involved in it in any way. So you're just always going to try to, make sure things are just good, not just for you, but for everybody around you.
Okay, so now we've talked about that. Let's get to the real stuff. What's it
All
like
right.
dating? What's it like dating y'all? I know, but I think the women would like to hear straight from the horse's mouth. They're tired of me always explaining it. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is it like actually dating a high value man?
Give me a question. I can tell you.
Now, what's the question? What does dating you entail? Like, what are your
Well, that's
your
just too
expectations?
generic. You got to be more specific. I just ask me a specific question.
What are your expectations?
Um, uh, that's still a little bit vague, but I think you're doing. I think you're being vague on purpose. Okay, so let me go ahead and answer it. So it seems like let me see. Um, I wouldn't say that I have an expectation. Uh, I would say that it's more of a um you have a set of things that you look for in a person. And that's really more of what it is, rather than the thing that you expect out of a person. Like when I get to, it's like at work, I I don't necessarily expect an employee to do a particular thing. It's just you have them, you say, hey, here, you need to do this, and then you see if they do it. And if they don't, you have to have a response. If they do, then everything's good. And I think it's the same way with women. You don't have an expectation like, I expect her to do this, or I expect her to do that. Now I think the 50-50 dudes, they have some expectations. They have expectations. And then I think some of the high value men that are kind of, fake high value men, and then some of the high value men that haven't had women, that they're gonna have like Kevin Samuels was like that. He was like, he had an expectation, like, yeah, I expect you to have sex with me at the 3 dates. But men that are high value men that have been successful with women all their life, they're just not gonna have to have sex with a woman at the 3 dates. I mean, he's not gonna care about that like that. And most men, even when they hear me say that on a stage, they kind of cringe. But why? Because then he ain't gonna get no, I'm gonna say the P word, but I'm not gonna say it. But then he ain't gonna get no, so they have a problem with that. But
Young
the
kids,
real,
they call
huh?
it the young kids call it box. He's not going to get any box.
Yeah, okay, he ain't gonna get no box. Okay. Yeah, so he ain't gonna get none of the box. So it, but that's for men. They have expectation to get that. Um, you know, I once I'm with a person and we've been together for some period of time and we've established some things, then I just expect them to be how they've been, in terms of what I expected, what I was actually looking for them to be. It's like if you start dating a woman and she is coming off as she doesn't go to clubs, doesn't party, doesn't do this, and she's in church every week. But once you start dating her, you're not going to want to be seeing her at the club every week. It's just that your expectation is not to see that, because so that's really where the expectation is set. The expectation is is on the person to be what they've been and to grow from where they are. But it's not like you just be with somebody and then you all of a sudden you just say, yeah, you better be like this. Well, no, you just need to be how I perceived you to be, or how you presented yourself to be, and just be that. And I guess we would just call that being real. So as long as a person presents themselves real, then they really don't have a problem. But what I've seen is that a lot of women, when they date high value men, they don't know how to be. So what I mean by that, well, they don't know how to present themselves, the best version of themselves, to get this man, because they want him. I don't want to say so bad, because it's not like they're desperate, but they really like him, you know. So what they'll do is they'll try to do things, to hide things, to hide parts of themselves. And this is what I've experienced, They try to hide parts of themselves, assuming that he won't see those things. And that becomes a problem, because it would be better for him to see that and just to know that about you, and then him to be able to just deal with that, rather than him, have an expectation. That's the word you used. Have an expectation of you not being that way, because you haven't exemplified that around him, and then all of a sudden, you start changing. And what I would liken it to is it's the same reason why when you have employers have a 90-day policy. That's really why they have that, because they expect that people, human nature, of course, people think that employers don't think about that, but they do. That human nature says that you can only fake it for about 3 months. 3 months. After 3 months, 90 days, you're going to see the real person come out. It's going to leak out at some point. They're going to be late for work. They're going to be lazy. They're going to be something, something.
Especially if you have your boundaries in place. You
Oh,
probably
and don't have boundaries,
yeah.
because if you say it, because and the workplace is a great example of that for people. So I can set a bound. I can have a strong boundary and say, okay, so yeah, we need everybody here at 9 o'clock, and I can set a strong boundary on that. And a person that doesn't have discipline, because that's really what it's going to take. That is, a person has to have discipline when they're dealing with a high value man, especially one that's disciplined. So his expectation is probably going to be for a woman to have discipline, self discipline, and the ability to be able to do what she says and say what she's gonna and what she means, and then make that happen. And if she can't do that, he's going to expect that she's going to need to grow in that area, and he's going to give her room to do that if he really likes her. But she's going to need to grow in that area. She's going to need to grow. And that's the part where a lot of women may say high value men are demanding, because they're going to, he's going to put that out there, and he's going to say, well, he ain't going to say you need to grow, but he's going to give you some books. Don't worry about that. That's just me making money. But yeah, he's gonna have these
Sound out here to ka-ching over there. Okay.
yeah, that's just sales popping across. Yeah. But yeah, let me turn that down. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, so that's kind of where the whole expectation thing is, and where that goes. But I think that he just expects her to have certain values that match his values. And if she doesn't, that's really gonna be a problem. But I think that that's a problem for anyone that has values. Like if you have Christian values and then somebody else does not, well, that's going to be a problem if y'all come together. If two people come together and you believe that you believe in, I don't know, what's the value? You believe in being totally honest.
Yeah,
And
integrity.
the person, yeah, integrity, yeah. And he doesn't. He's, you seeing him, he's at work and he's lying to his employer, saying that he's sick, and he really ain't sick. He's really going on vacation, and you see him do that. You're gonna have a problem with that. And you're not gonna trust him. And you're gonna feel insecure in that relationship. Now, does it mean you're insecure? Well, yeah. It means that you're insecure because you're not secure because you see he's a liar. But you would feel more secure in the relationship with him if you saw that he had some level of integrity. Because you're going to look and say, well, he's a liar. So he may lie to me. So you don't feel safe. So now I think, we should probably stop even using the word insecure and start using the word not feeling safe. Because women need a safe place, and you have to provide that, and at the same time she has to provide a safe place for men or a man. But a lot of women think they don't have to do that. They think that, oh, it doesn't matter for a man. Well, no, it does matter. It matters on both sides. And that's what's kind of getting left in the dust, which is why the passport bros are doing what they're doing, and the modern women are doing what they're doing, and it's
Hmm.
making everything a big mess.
And so, but what does that safe space like? What does that safe place look like when a woman is providing a safe place for a high value man?
Really, it's going to be based on his values. So a safe place for a man that is, it might be, um, it depends on him and his it goes back to his expectation of what she is and what she should be. I think the safest place is for a woman to be herself, to be who she is, and to present that. Now, uh, but most people, you know, we, most books say this. Most books say that that people basically suck. Period. Like you could hire a person, and the best person, and at the job, they're going to be their best on the first day, and they're going to go downhill from there. That's pretty much how it works. It's going to be downhill. And then you got some people where you can get them to rise back up, and then they go back down, and they rise back up, and they go back down. But you're going to have to kind of keep them motivated to continue to be the best version of themselves. And that's really where people say that high value men are very demanding, very controlling. Well, it's because he's going to always try to keep you in being the best version of yourself. But unfortunately, if you weren't raised that way, it's going to be difficult for you because you're going to fall back out of that. It's like being a drug addict where you've been using drugs all your life, and now all of a sudden this person trying to get you to be clean. And I give you an example. I had a relationship with a young lady some years back, and she would smoke weed. Now, I didn't really know she was doing that at first. So she kind of presented that to me after the fact, once I started liking her, of course. And, at some point, I was like, well, okay, well, they're legalizing weed and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't care about that. So then, what I noticed is that on Fridays, she would be going to the hood, looking for a weed man. And I had a problem with that. I just had a problem with that. I just had a problem with that. Now, I'm not sure that's not an integrity thing. That's not a value thing. It's just something that I just did not want my woman doing, or my wife. I don't want my wife chasing down the weed man on Friday. And, I just made that clear. I was like, nah. I'm like, whatever you got to do, but you can't be chasing the weed man down on Friday. I mean, you're just not going to be chasing down no nigga. Period. I mean, the period. And that was the end of our relationship eventually, because I stood.
Period.
Huh?
I was going to come in and say,
Man, because I'm standing on the M and effing square on that one. Because I'm like, no, you're not chasing down no M effing nigga every effing Friday, especially when she working for me. Like, hell no. What the hell you think this is? No, you're not chasing no nigga every Friday. You better find another way to get it. You better be innovative, but you're not going to be chasing down the freaking weed man every Friday. That's just not going to happen. So you need to bring your ass to the house and find another way to get it. And you ain't going to have no ghetto ass nigga knocking on my door talking about, hey, nigga, I need to talk to your wife. Now, nigga, you about to get shot. So, yeah. So I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm triggered. I triggered myself in here, guys.
oh, wow. I could tell.
Yeah. So that's really kind of how we stand on our square. We stand our ground on what we say. A lot of people can't deal with that. A lot of people ain't gonna like that. A lot of people gonna be sensitive to that. A lot of people not gonna like my energy. They're not gonna like high value men's energy. They're not gonna like alpha male energy. They're just not gonna like that. But that's okay. Those men are typically secure enough in themselves that they don't really need you to like them. They're not looking for people outside of themselves to like them. And usually you're not going to be liked because you're not, as a high value man, you're just not like as a boss. I don't expect my employees to like me. We don't have that type of relationship to where they're supposed to like me. I'm supposed to be their boss, not their friend. And it works better that way because when I was walking through the company at the beginning, when I first got started with employees and all of that, I was kind of focused on everybody liking me. And it wasn't very effective because the people was, he cool, he ain't worried about if you come to work late. Well, I'm cool, but I don't want you here late because it makes everybody else late. And then everybody get laxed, and people don't necessarily understand that. So if one person does it and everybody starts doing it, everybody gets lax, and then work don't get done, and things don't get, and things are not effective, and a whole lot of other things start breaking down. And most people don't really know that, see that, or care. They just think that the check is just going to continue to clear, and it will. But you want it to clear to where you're being profitable and you're making the most money you can, and not having employees that are not doing what they're supposed to do. So so you're going to always come with as a high value man, you're just going to always come with like these values that you just stand on. And people that don't have values, it's easy because they get triggered. They'll even get triggered when I'm talking. I could be in a meeting and they'll be sensitive because they're like, oh, I wonder, is he gonna see through that? I wonder, is he gonna see what I'm covering up? Yeah, you damn right. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see it. Now I'm not gonna exploit it. Then I'm gonna give you some opportunity to grow it. But I'm gonna see it. I'm gonna see it.
All right, so we
90
got a
days.
comment. We got a
90
comment in the
days.
chat. He said God has made only one type of man, a real man. Um, I wonder, like, how, because I know and understand that there's a hierarchy amongst men, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Women, if I know that some men do establish that hierarchy, it's unspoken, and
Mhm.
women see that there's a hierarchy. Are all men equal in value?
I think all men under God are the same in value. I think that under society, that men can become more valuable to society than another man. And you can think about it like this. So there's and that value varies among people, right? So what the gentleman said is absolutely correct, because one man is the same as the next man, but one man might be willing to feed the homeless, so he may be very valuable to the homeless. Then another man may not be willing to feed the homeless, but he's willing to employ people. He will be very valuable to the people that he employs. Another man might be willing to help this woman to, I don't know, whatever women need in their homes, cut her yard every week, because she doesn't have a husband. And that man would be very valuable to her. So each man has his potential to be highly valuable to different sectors of society and people. The problem that we have in our community today is that we haven't, put in place mechanisms for Black men to be successful in doing that, because we haven't told them that, hey, here's what you do. Here's how you become a man. Here's how you make yourself successful. Here's how you be the best, at best that you can. Yes, absolutely. Value is subjective. It is 100%. It's subjective based on who is determining the value. Because like I said just a moment ago, the gentleman was correct. Like I said, the like a woman that's a homeless person is going to see a they're going to see one person being so much more valuable uh, uh, than another. Um, Yeah, they're going to see a person being so much more valuable uh, than another person, basically because if think about it. Okay, so people's values change. The value on somebody can change because let's say that I can be valuable today because I'm able to give somebody some money, and then that person sees me as valuable. Okay, so what happens if we're in the desert and I have money and I can give the person some money, but there's another guy that has no money, but he has water? But what's valuable? Is money valuable in the desert? Well, no, it's not valuable in the desert because you can't do anything with the money in the desert. But in the desert, water becomes more valuable. In a basketball gym, the best basketball player is more valuable. In the workplace, the best employee is more valuable. Then the owner of the business becomes more valuable. So it depends on where you are, and that's really what's determining the value because it's the value that everyone else is seeing in you. So, but to have value in terms of yourself as a man, you should be determining that inside. And that's why I said that, I spend most of my week this week doing internal work on myself, to work on my own psyche and my own self-worth and self-esteem, and reading a bunch of books in that. And people might say, well, D, your self-esteem's great, man. You this and that and this. But man, you know what? The CEO of IBM said, if you can't find, he said, if you can't find a problem in your business, he said, you need to find one and fix it. So I do that across the board. I do that in my business and I do that in my life. So I'm going to find a problem and I'm going to fix it. You're going to look for one until you find one. And ultimately what you're going to end up being is a very high level, highly valuable, highly wanted, prestiged man, because you've done all of these things to work on yourself and fill all these holes, and to have a better understanding of who you are. And now I'm looking at saying, okay, well, I want to understand who everyone else is. I want to understand women better. A lot of people say, you might say, well, what, you understand women well. Well, yeah, but you know what? I'm not married. So, so I understand how to get them. So there's probably things I need to understand more, so there's probably things I need to work on. So I'm looking for areas to work on in myself. And only a man that has good, solid self-esteem can say that. So what I would just, pressure men to do is to get your self-esteem solid enough to where you can look at your weaknesses and make them better. Like the passport bros. So the passport bros, they leave and go elsewhere. Well, you know what? You'd have to look and say, well, what is it inside me? Rather than punting and saying, you know what, I give up, I quit. What is it inside you that's making it to where you can't really manage the situation in the US? Do you want to just place blame on everyone else? Every single last female in the United States. I mean, is that the way it is? Well, and there are some problems here. I won't say that it's not. But there's solutions that men can take. I guess the I think the extreme solution was you can go become a therapist, right? That's the extreme solution. But let's say that you don't have to do the extreme thing, and let's say you do something less than extreme, and you say, okay, what's less than that? Well, I can go start to read things and understand Black women. I can go talk to them more. I can go try to be in their spaces more and try to understand their perspective and understand, what are they wanting? Where's the problems coming from? What is their experience? And I've just seen, they have a perspective. And I think until we as men, respect their perspective, then we're going to continue to go out somewhere else and try to see the problem as being, oh, okay, well, everybody else is the problem. But there's nothing that I can do about that. But men that are secure in themselves and high value men, they don't just let problems just exist. They're going to look at it and say, okay, what can I do about the problem? I know I can't change the woman, but I can become more patient as a man. I know I can't change the woman, but you know what? But I can become better at understanding a woman. You know, I'm going to tell you what I challenged myself to do, LeTisha, right here. And I'm gonna shut my mouth. What I challenged myself to do is I said, you know what? I need to, I need to find women think I'm not patient. I know that. I know that. So I said, okay, so what do I need to do inside myself to work on myself to become more patient, more understanding? And that's what I decided to do. So I had to first look and say, yes, this is an area that I'm not doing well. That's a secure man. See, a secure man could do that. Now, of course, there's going to be some women that try to take advantage of that and try to say, oh, well, yeah, that's why your lack of patience, nigga. Well, you got to be secure with yourself when she says something stupid like that to you. See, that's why you got to work on yourself so that when somebody outside of you says something, it doesn't move you. It don't shake you as a man. And that's what's really wrong with men. That's what's wrong on Clubhouse. Niggas get on the stage and they, you say something and then they get shook. Then you got to come up there and he got to be talking crazy to you and he arguing with women and all kind of stuff. I mean, it's just ridiculousness. But men shouldn't be, you shouldn't be allowing, people to come in your world and just set you off. And it's kind of like what you were saying earlier, LeTisha, where the dude said, women can't do that because, it might set a man off. Well, if a woman is setting you off with her words, then you need to go and do some work on yourself so that a woman's words won't set you off. Because if a woman keeps setting you off with her words, I promise you, once she sees that she can trigger you that way, she's going to continue to do that every chance she gets. Because a woman is going to, if she smells weakness in you, she's going to push that button every chance she gets. And then she's going to get rid of you. Because women do not like weak men. So as a man, you have to continue to grow yourself, continue to be better, continue to be stronger. And that's really what you got to do.
I agree. However, I would say that being a matchmaker, value is subjective, but I think a lot of people try to fit everyone into the same box as having value. While everyone has value, there are some people going to have higher value. And I know and understand that there are some men who do hold more value than other men because they are showing and showing themselves to be responsible for the community and society at large. You're going to mostly see them as innovators. They're going to be the ones that create paradigm shifts within our societies. They're going to create and invent things that will progress society, right? They will come up with put systems in place that will that will help society progress. I think everybody wants to. We're in a politically correct culture now where everyone wants to make everyone feel good or feel like they belong. But no, being a high value man is an elite club, and not every man can get there. Not every man is going to belong there, and that's okay. That's not saying that men who aren't high value don't hold any type of value. Of course, they hold value. They're going to hold value to someone, right? They're going to hold value, especially to the woman that wants to be with them. But I also know that when I'm speaking to women, regardless of what they say, regardless of not liking the title, the term, or whatever, when I'm speaking to women, I know that what they're saying is that they want the high value man. They all want that man. Most, unless she's wanting to control and lead, and but at some point, even if he's not going to be a high value, he's not a high value man when she first meets him in his formative years. The expectation is he's going to get to a place where, by someone's definition, that hey, yeah, you qualify as a high value man. That's what women want. So I'm not trying to focus on being inclusive because it doesn't help women. I think being honest with women, being upfront with women about what they're getting into, what they're signing up for, and what it takes to qualify for a high value man is something that I focus on because that's what they want. And so I know there are going to be men who are saying, because this debate, this is now becoming a trending topic again now. Like I thought high value man subject died in 2021, right? Late 2021, but it's coming back up. So it's like, okay, we're having to have the discussion again. And I, I'm like, I have to, at the risk of making some people upset, and I'm like, majority of men do not qualify for high value men. That is going to be a small segment of the population. Um, and that's okay. But that doesn't say that the other men aren't worthy or that they don't hold any type of value or self worth. But they, it's just a matter of you're not going to be well sought out after on the dating market. Like, like it to me as a matchmaker, it's about who is considered more valuable in the dating market. And yeah, men of lesser value are not that highly sought after. I know women will try to say they'll try to be more PC, politically correct, but all in all women want the men situated at the top 20%. And that is the top 20% of individual income earners, because women are looking at the lifestyle that that man can give. And not only just the money, but the attributes. Like high value men have some of the best character traits and attributes. That's why they're called high value. They're well rounded. They're all around um, good solid package. And so, no, I'm not gonna um, have the mindset of, well, everyone has value. Yes, everyone has value, but I'm standing staunch, and this channel is about high value men and the women who want them. So I just thought I would address that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree. I agree.
Alrighty, you tired yet?
We just getting started.
Oh my gosh.
Just getting warmed up.
I agree. If a woman wants to be a high value, if a woman wants a high value man, she must be a high value woman. But that's like a high value woman is not going to mirror that of a high value man.
I don't really care about that. I mean, I don't even know that the whole term high value woman even exists. I mean, in terms of like in comparison to high value men. I mean, I think we came up with that term because we had the word high value man. So we said, okay, well, high value man needs to be with a high value woman. But what is a high value woman? Then becomes that question. So well, some people says a high value woman is a woman that makes a lot of money, but well, a high value man don't really care about a woman's money. Then some people would say a high value woman is a woman that's traditional, that wants to stay home and wants to support a high value man. And so it's just really, it is really still a subjective thing again, in terms of the high value man and high value woman. I think where Kevin was making a mistake was he was saying, and it wasn't his mistake, because it's because Kevin Samuels didn't make up the term high value man. He said that, and nor did he come up with the criteria. He said that as well. But I think the criteria are good, but I think it only looks in terms of your value, more so in terms of to society, and value like to the world, so to speak. But it doesn't really look at your value to a woman, specifically. So it doesn't say, okay, well, because to say, it's like one thing he said was a more oxymoron. He said that high value men exercise their options. Well, if but he also said that the market determines the value. So the market would be the woman, right? Right? LeTisha, right?
Oh, I thought I was off mute. Yeah, that's
Yeah, the
correct.
market will be the woman, right? Okay, so if the woman is determining a man to be high value, meaning she's determined the market value of a man, and then he's saying high value men are going to have multiple women. Well, then how many women would say that that man is valuable to her when he wants to be with multiple women? That actually would make his value go down in terms of the market. And that was a distinct, stark contradiction when he said that. And I was like, why is he saying that? That sounds like a contradiction to me. You're saying that high value men have multiple women and exercise the options and they want to have sex with you on the third date. Those are things that women don't see as valuable. So that would make you less valuable as a man. So meaning that you maybe you still high value, maybe, I don't know, but you would not be as valuable as a man that is saying, you know what, she doesn't have those problems. So if we're talking marketplace and one man is high value man, quote unquote high value man, and he's a one woman man, and then another man is a quote unquote high value man, then he's a multi woman man, then I would be sure that I'm sure that it's safe for me to say that the man that is saying I only want to be with one woman is actually going to be more sought after and therefore more valuable by the marketplace, which is women.
The sexual marketplace. I get what you're saying, and I understand both sides of it. But I think Kevin Samuels was talking about more like casual dating, hookup culture. I rarely ever, sure, he talked about, marriage, but in relationship dynamics. But when I would hear him speak, it just sounded more of, oh, this is about casual dating and hookup culture. Um, and Yeah, and that's different. Like I tell people, there's actually three markets out there. There's the sexual marketplace, sexual marketplace. There's the dating marketplace, and then there's the marriage marketplace. And just because you're in a sexual marketplace doesn't mean that you're actually on the dating marketplace or you're in the marriage marketplace. How you move and how you start to engage from the very beginning, who you are as a person will determine which market you're in. Your intentions will determine which market you are in. Most men start off in the sexual marketplace, right? Unless they know for a fact that they want to get married, then they start off in the dating or the marriage marketplace. Um, but I think Kevin Samuels was really talking about sexual marketplace hookups. Watched a lot of his videos, and once I got the gist of, oh, this is a single man who is trying to market this for himself and trying to manipulate the market so that he could so that him and men like him and these other men who follow him can um, get the most out of it, setting themselves up for women to lower their expectations of such men. But I tell women that's how it works in the sexual market, on the sexual marketplace. Like, but in the dating marketplace, the relationship
But
marriage,
that's for the women that are in the sexual marketplace.
right?
But most women are not trying to be in the, I want to get some dick marketplace. They're like, I want to be in a relationship marketplace. Most of them, and then there's another group of them that I want to be married marketplace. But the sexual marketplace, I mean, that's the Tinder, hookup. But high value men, we don't really even need to be in the sexual marketplace because, I mean, that, like, getting sex is not difficult for us. It's just not difficult. Yeah, it's just not difficult. I mean, I don't really know how to say that any better, but it's the other two that are more difficult to navigate.
And yeah, I would say that a lot of women majority of women prefer to be in a relationship or the marriage marketplace, but unfortunately, the way they start moving, they end up starting off in the sexual marketplace because of their lack of boundaries, the men that they're dealing with, lacking of discernment and
Mm.
attention for men,
Oh.
they find themselves in that sexual marketplace trying to get to relationship and the marriage So,
Okay, okay, yeah. That I would have to agree with that. And it looks like YouTube is giving you a little bit more love on your impressions, so we just need to continue to let those impressions continue to grow. I'm looking at them on the back, so that's good.
oh my gosh, I'm trying to look and I don't understand any of that. Like, I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm looking at, but that's okay. Ah, I'll just let the people who know handle it, and I just put out the content.
Just resting in your femininity.
Exactly.
Mhm. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure Bishop Mack likes that. A woman that rests in her femininity. It's not even often that we even see that these days. Where I mean, so it's a good example to even have a woman that does that, because then other women can follow suit. And just like men were trying to copy Kevin Samuels, maybe women can also take notes from some of the things that you're doing.
I tell women it's the best and safest place to be when you're with a man. Like, it's the best place to be. When you are operating in fear and anxiety, you would feel uncomfortable, but then you get in your own way when you're not choosing to operate and function in your feminine energy. And
Mm,
for me, it's the only place, it's the most comfortable and safest place I prefer to be, because I'm not out here trying to be like y'all. I'm not trying to compete with y'all. I do
mm,
not want to be a man. I love being a woman, and I love being a soft feminine women and doing
mm,
things that are innate and natural to me as a woman.
mm. Yeah, well, it's I mean, it's not often that we see that. I mean, to even me sharing a stage with a feminine woman that's a part of the femininity community. I love it. Just I know when we're on Clubhouse, and doing rooms there. I just think that it was just amazing. The rooms would get huge, and now coming over this new platform, and then you bring in your feminine presence here. I just think it's just great that you finally decided to take the dive and dive on over into YouTube and bring your femininity and feminine presence and all of that feminine knowledge that you bring to the women of YouTube and even the men of YouTube. I mean, there's quite a few men on YouTube, so I just think it's altogether an amazing thing just even having you on this platform now. So yeah, glad
Yeah,
you can join here and create
thank
this community.
Oh, thank you so much. And it is definitely our superpower. Like, it is like women are trying to gain power in the way that men, what they think, how they think men are gaining power. But we have our own power, and our power resides in our feminine essence, in how we just being soft and being our truest selves. Men would do well to avoid the chameleons, because there are a lot of chameleons out here, and a chameleon is a woman who is presenting as if she's feminine, but boy, oh boy, you put her in
Mm.
the fire, and that all that femininity just goes out the window. I need to do a room on that. What do
I
you
was
think?
thinking about that, man. I can't wait. Once we start getting this thing to pop off, get this podcast popping off. Yeah, we need to do some of those rooms like we used to on Clubhouse, man, where we had, you started saying, are they traditional or modern? And because, they need to know, they need to know, are they, are they doing, because I think knowing where you are, gives you a place to grow into. It gives you a place where you can say, okay, here's where I'm at. What can I do better? What can I grow into? To become better. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think men would do well to recognize and understand true femininity. You have a lot of women who just, they think, oh, just having a soft voice, and oh, I want to cook and I want to clean, or I'm traditional, and they think, oh, that's feminine. No, but femininity comes from within, right? It starts from the inside. And because of who you are on the inside, it exudes on the outside, and men will be able to recognize it no matter what. Um, I've never struggled with men, even strange men, being wanting to be around me, assist me, take care of me. I like being the damsel. I don't like to think that I'm the strong, independent woman who I don't need a man. No, I love masculine energy. I love male energy, and it's something that's true. So, um, my goal, that's what I want. I want women to be able to step back into their true femininity, not fake femininity, not just trying to put it on like it's a coat or a new outfit, and you're gonna put it on just because you're trying to get a man. But no, because you have to continue to walk that out in the relationship. And who you show yourself to be is who the man is going to expect you to always be. And if that's not who you truly are, if you're not authentic, then at some point your true self is going to come out and you are going to lose the relationship. I don't care how hard you try to fight for it. I don't care how good of a woman you think you are. Being an inauthentic person is like it is a detriment to trying to be in a relationship with a high value man, because once they realize, oh, you're not real, as Demetron said, I can't trust you. Like, I don't know who you are. You're lying to me. So now everything is coming into question. Your intentions, your values, your morals, everything comes into question. So if you need, women would do well to just tap into, because we all have it in us, right? All of us women have it in us. For the most part, women were conditioned out of their femininity, especially Black women. We were conditioned out of our femininity. Um, if we followed along society's program, but you can tap in and get it back, because that's it's there. It truly is there, and every woman can can tap into it and use it for good, because that's what it's there for, is to use it for good uh, in conjunction with the man, with a man. It's it's for your family, it's for your marriage, and it's for your society, and it's for society at large. So, and that's our superpower. I'm sorry, I'm going to stand 10 toes down on it. Well, I'm not sorry, but I will stand 10 toes down on it. Being out in the workforce is crazy. Like, I heard a woman say the other day, is like, she's like, no, I don't need a man to do anything for me, I got it. And I said, but why would you want to do that? Let these men handle it. They want to do it. They get something out of it. Being productive, and the more a man is productive, the more he feels great about himself. The more a woman is productive, we get tired, we get drained. As you know, Demetron, when I'm doing these rooms, I get tired, and I
Oh
need
yeah.
you or another man to undergird me,
Right, right,
to
right.
lift me up, because I get exhausted with all this labor.
Yeah, just yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but that's just you just being in your femininity, you know. And I think more women need to see that example. And that's why I think being on YouTube is going to be great for you, because I think that's really where you're going to be able to show that femininity, and then show that side to other women, and they can practice it, and you could help teach them to understand it, because I think that I think women have to be get they initially start off in these careers, and they get more into their masculine side or their fear-based side, but at some point they have to say, okay, you know what, I'm not afraid, I'm gonna let this man handle it. And that's really what you're saying. Like, that's really what you're saying if you think about it at its core. What you're really saying is that, okay, I feel secure with the men I have around me. Or I feel secure with the men I'm with on stage. I feel secure with the man, taking care of me and making sure I'm good. You're not saying I'm worried about that the man's not going to be able to do that. So I got to make sure that I can do that. No, you're not really saying it. You're saying, well, I trust that I can get a man to do these things for me. And once he's doing those things for me, I expect that. And it's not like you're sitting back worried about if those things are going to happen or not. And, a lot of women need to learn that. They need to learn to um, be able to sit in um, that space, that same space of being, of feeling safe. And even when you don't feel safe, you still continue to um, try to stay confident or secure in yourself that everything's going to be okay.
I agree. There's nothing like hearing a man say, I got it. Woo! That does some things. To hear a man say, I got it, I'm going to handle it, and problem solve. I think that's another issue that happens with women trying to be with high value men. High value men are great at problem solving, right? When they're fleshing out something or they're brainstorming something, women immediately try to go into solving the problem instead of just being in the background and support, brainstorm, helping him to brainstorm, or using your feminine wiles to, help him unlock something that he can't get to, that's stuck in his brain, in his head. um yeah, problem solving. I'm not going to solve problems. I think that is a man's responsibility. I am here to nurture. I am here to provide support. I am here as the creative, and emotional outlet, problem solving and thinking. But I think high value men make great. They're great at it, right? The decisions that you make, the judgment that you've exhibited, so there's no need for women to do it. But for some reason, we were socialized to think that we have to do it, that we need to do it, because if we don't, then we don't hold any value with our men, and or it's a scary thing to depend on men, and you don't want to be in a place where you're going to depend on a man because then he's going to control you. I'm like, well, it's not that, that's not men in general. It's usually the men that you attract. Yeah, there are men out here who are seeking to control women. They're insecure and they're low hanging fruit, and that's how they feel more secure about themselves, is by trying to control her actions and every move. But if you want more, if you want better, then you have to be more. You have to do better yourself. And one thing I find, that high value men are highly attracted to feminine women. I rarely see a high value man with a woman that is not feminine. Even if she's working, even if she has a career, even if she has a job, she's very feminine and she understands her role in his life. Like she understood the assignment, as they say. All right, Demetriana, you there? Is this time to
Yes,
end?
I am. No, no, no,
Oh,
no, no, no. No, I think now is a good time to kind of reset things and keep it going. Because right now YouTube is starting to pick it up. So it takes a moment for YouTube to recognize that you're on a live. It usually takes about an hour or more. And once YouTube starts to figure out that you're on a live, then it needs to go out and try to figure out who is interested in the topic. And now it's actually doing that. Usually it might take many, many, many lives to get to that point. But right now, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's going good. I just check into what Bishop Mac is saying, and give some commentary on that, because he's been firing up in the chat. So we talk on what he's been doing. So LeTisha, I'll let you control that.
yeah, he's been firing up in the chat. He said another sign of real manhood is problem solving. And I tell women all the time, you have to have distinction and discernment from the boys and the men, and not every grown male is a man. And one of the key points of a man and his manhood is his willingness, not just his ability, but his willingness to problem solve. Because I know a lot of, some men, um they may be able to problem solve, but they're not interested in doing so. And for women who are in their feminine, they're going to have to step up. So if you have two people in the relationship looking for the other to solve the problems, you're going to be stuck. You're going to come at a standstill, and the relationship is not going to progress, because now you're going to be looking at a compatibility issue. But, relationships aren't meant to be equal. Someone is going to do, and someone is going to be. Someone is going to take on the female, and someone is going to take on the male. Gender aside, just choose which side you want to pick. Me, I choose to be the feminine and the being. I just want to be. I just want to be. I'm going to take good care of you. I'm going to meet your needs. Um, I want to meet your needs, but I want you
I like
to
hearing that part. I'm gonna meet your needs. That
I'm
right there.
gonna meet your needs.
That
I mean,
right there is like, ooh, I'll meet your needs.
oh
Okay.
my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna meet your needs and make sure that you're fulfilled in a relationship. But I don't want to, focus on doing the building in the relationship. So all right, so I'm gonna put the link in the chat for anyone who wants to come up and join us. But to join us while myself and my guest host Demetron are not on camera, I do require for everyone else to be on camera. So if you're going to come up, please make sure that you are on camera. I need to set up some mods. I need to get a team so they can do all of this.
Right. You'll get that. You'll get that. That'll be they'll yeah, because once it's gonna start filling up. But once we get because right now you're getting a pretty good amount of impressions in here, and YouTube has to go out and find people, and it's doing that now like it's supposed to. So that's great.
That's crazy. Did
That's the
you
reason why Kevin Samuels would be on so long, is because he'd had to wait for the algorithm to go out there and do its thing, and he would have to be on a long time every night. He would have to do it about 2 hours, and
oh my
30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes of it was just his bumper playing at the
god.
beginning. Yeah,
Yeah, he was on. He would come on at 11 o'clock at night and be on till like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was his good spot. So on Saturday night, it's going to be the popping time where things start really jumping is about in the next 30 minutes.
Oh
It's
my
about
goodness.
9 o'clock, 9 o'clock Central and 10 o'clock Eastern. It starts jumping because most of the men right now are watching basketball game, things like that. All that's kind of going on.
Oh yes, the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, all that type of stuff's going on. So, YouTube starts popping like sometime around 9-ish when they start kind of getting off of that. And it really starts firing up at around 11, 10 or 11. And I'm saying 10 o'clock Central. That's why Kevin was getting on at that time.
Yeah, I just cannot hang with them hours. Oh my gosh, I'm on East Coast time, so it's getting pretty close to 10 o'clock where I'm at now.
But I tell you what we can do is we can play some intermission music and let that play for a bit. So I can drop some intermission music for you, and
Oh,
and then and we can take a slight break.
wait, isn't this where he like get the likes up, get the likes up, get the likes up, and then he?
Yeah, get the likes up. Yeah, because the likes is going to help the algorithm. That's very important. So and that's kind of what he was doing with that whole get the likes up thing. It helps
Yeah,
get the
then he
algorithm
would start playing
going.
music. He'd play that one song, and he would not talk anymore until they would get the likes up.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you got for us?
Well, I think a lot of the music that there's a lot of issues with music on YouTube. If you play something that's uh copywritten, stuff like that, they'll
My channel's not monetized yet.
it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. I thought it
Yeah,
was on the monetized
no,
channel.
yeah, they'll block it. So you got to be careful about that. So what I usually do is I usually play like some. Pulling it up now. In 1 second, I'm about to run it through my board. I'm sure that's a lot better now, right?
Yes, we can really hear it now. Yeah.
All right. Let's bring that to the beginning.
Yeah.
Big Mac, what's good with you?
Some of the music a little bit.
You said turn it up or turn it down?
Just turn it on a little bit, brother. Just turn it on a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Turn it down a little bit.
You said down?
Down, yes. Down, sir, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Whenever y'all ready for me to share some sacred bread of the game of life with you. Whenever you're ready.
LeTisha, you go ahead and lead that out.
Well, I'm known by the YouTube moniker as Matt Bones, also Bishop Matt Bones. The reason why they call me Bishop was some of my young black male followers on, Facebook, Messenger, and YouTube. They call me Bishop because there's been a congregation of young black males, 18 to 27, on social media asking me questions. Let me ask you, sir, have you heard of the YouTuber and author known as Ron Wills?
No, I haven't.
Okay, Ron Wills has come out with these books called Nice Guys and Players, Sexual Chemistry, and Meeting Attractive Women. And I've been a follower, subscriber, and a client of Ron Wills for a while. And the reason why I vibe with him because the advice he gives about men getting women, this is the same advice that my Uncle Lester told me when I was a young teenage boy growing up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, and my mother, Florine Bailey, was best friends with Ernest Green, one of the Little Rock Nine.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
Trying to integrate Hall High School. So I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I grew up learning from different things from my mother and everything, because she's not only black, but she's part Choctaw Native American. Oh. So when I went to Arkansas Government School, I went to Arkansas Government School back in 1987, instrumental music. I saw this old Chinese guy practicing Tai Chi in the Hendricks Garden in Conway, Arkansas. So I asked him to teach me the movements that he learned. He said, well, you got to know what Dao is, or the Dao.
What is that?
That means in Chinese, the way, the path, the method of. So being the Chinese guy was discussing, Tai Chi or the Dao symbol, yin and yang. And he explained to me that yang is masculinity, yin is femininity. And I asked him, honorable sir, what do I need to do to understand how yin interacts with yang? And he told me simply this, young man, you got to have experiences in engaging and dating and sexually interacting with women. You understand? So in in other words, he was telling me about the more expedient way to go about it instead of the long way practicing the Tai Chi, the movements, the yoga, and all the other stuff. In other words, he wanted me to experience life
from a deeper perspective. Basically,
yeah. So it's sort of like in the movie The Last Dragon. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Last Dragon. Oh yeah, that's my day. Yeah. That's my day too.
So I remember I first saw that when I was 16 years old. So this guy Leroy Green is looking for the master until he realized in the movie that he's the master looking for. But he had to experience and engage in certain experiences to get to that point. Like he had to engage in with the woman Laura played by Vanity, right? Mm-hmm. And see, he wasn't looking to be attracted to her, but by he doing what he did, saving her life from those thugs of Eddie Arcanian, guess what? She started to fall in love with him because he exuded primal masculinity, natural masculinity, because she was naturally feminine.
So he didn't even have to try.
He didn't have to try. He just been himself. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like these guys in the manosphere, I told them that the key word in manosphere is man, but they're up there whining like weak, effeminate, ineffective boys and males. So I've been booted off of panels because I've been coming with solutions because that's how I was raised by my Uncle Lester, nicknamed Uncle Slick. So I learned about what true femininity is with my mother, Florence Bailey, because she had the feminine grace to exude a true femininity. And guess what? She was proud of being a truly feminine woman. So all the female members of my family were truly feminine. My grandmother, my auntie, and then all the men in my family were truly masculine. So when my dad wasn't around, and when my mama had trouble with me growing up, she would send me to my uncle's house. And then my uncle would put me through the rigors of manhood. Mm-hmm. So my rites of passage was like working for him. I would help him with his janitorial business, his janitorial business, his moving business, his lawnmower business.
And we were talking about this earlier. So was he easy on you or tough on you?
He was hard.
Exactly.
The only time he was easy on me, when he was proud that I went to Arkansas Government School. So he rewarded me by, say, well, I know you're 18, but since you became a man and did what I and your mama told you to do, hit those books, keep your body in shape, keep everything up, I'm gonna reward you by drinking some vodka and Sprite with me. Mm-hmm. So he rewarded me with having a drink.
That's a rite of passage
on this porch. Right. So that was my rite of passage.
Yeah.
So, and then when I was in my late 20s, around 1996, I got initiated into the wisdom of my mother's Native American family, the Choctaw. So I went to this ritual of tobacco ties, smoking the sacred pipe, the sweat lodge. Mm-hmm. I had to sweat with the elders. These were some dark-skinned dudes. They weren't the typical Native Americans. They were dark-skinned, high cheekbones, broad nose, thick lips. So,
well, they're not the typical Native Americans that we see on TV. Because if you look at the Native Americans that are real Native Americans, they look like black people.
They are black people because when the conquistadors came to the shores of South America and Florida, that's even a city in Texas where I'm at right now, known as DeSoto, named after the Hernan DeSoto, one of the conquistadors that came over there. And there's a certain county in Arkansas where I'm from, known as DeSoto County, named after DeSoto. And then there's Elder. Yeah, I'm from Little Rock.
Where in Texas are you now?
I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. But when I first came to Texas in 2020, I was in Duncanville. They were my older sister.
That's Fort Worth.
But because Duncanville is a part of Dallas County. It's actually part of Dallas.
Okay.
Because what happened was you got a lot of Hispanics living in certain neighborhoods in Dallas, but most of the black folks, all black folks, they're living in Grand Prairie, Oak Cliff, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, and also Lubbock, Texas. There's certain towns in Texas where you got a lot of upper class, high value black men and black women living. Because see, like I put in the chat, the thing about high value, it designates one's social economic class. So there's an upper class of high value Black Americans known as the Jack and Jill Society. That's the Black bourgeoisie upper class, middle class, upper middle class to wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been around ever since slavery was over. Because during the time of Jim Crow, you had upper class self-sufficient communities known as the Black Wall Street, Greensboro, Archer, and Pine, where the Gap Band comes from. You have the People's Grocery in Memphis. You have the Rosewood in Florida. And the reason why they were destroyed, that in spite of segregation, these communities were self-sufficient and thriving. Yes, they had their own banks, they had their own colleges, universities, and so on. They were sort of like old school back then, functional small Wakandas. And like I explained to these Negroes, you up there into this Wakanda thing, but you can forget one thing. The greatest weakness of T'Challa, the Black Panther, was he never asked for help at all. Yeah, that's his greatest weakness. And see, that's the thing.
And this is a good point. As men, we have to be. I think you have to be aware of yourself. Self-aware enough to be able to know where you're weak, and then to know when it's time to say, okay, well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and get somebody to get my back. And as a leader, you have to know that. That's very important. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because see, the thing about it, like there's a lot of people that confuse the three levels of the game of life. The level of the player, the level of the pimp, the level of the Mac. And I explained to them the way that my uncle explained to me that, players focus on sex, pimps focus on money, Macs focus on power. A Mac is a real man because a Mac's swag, power, and game. A real man's power, swag, and game flows from the truth, especially the truth from within himself. Like this dating coach Lucario said, the truth is inside you. And then I also said this, that life is the real master teacher, especially that of game, because the game is birthed from life.
But see, a lot of the men today, they don't want to experience life. So they don't even know, like you spitting game right now. They won't even realize that the stuff you're saying is mad game, because it's good, like serious, like telling them the game.
Yes.
Because if you don't want to learn from the experiences that life is going to teach you, then you're subject to just continue to make the same mistake over and over and over and over. It's almost like playing, they spend their time playing a video game, but the video game will tell you a lot. Because when you play a video game, you're going to be on that level until you master that level.
Yes.
And as soon as you're about to get to the next level, it don't get easy.
Yes.
It's hard. It gets super hard. And that's when everything started coming at you. And then as soon as you make it past that level, then all of a sudden you go to the next level and it starts out real easy. And if they understand that, it'll progress. And once you master that level, then it's going to get real hard, right? When you're about to get to the next level. But until you master that level, you're not going to get out that level. You're going to come back, start the game over, and you're going to be back at that same level. But really, you're going to be back at the level below. And you have to work your way back up to that next level again. But because you gotten good at that,
amen to that, brother,
level, it becomes easy for you to go to the first level and then get back to the next level again, and then get back to that place where you were on that second level. I mean, if they would look at it from that perspective and not just look at video games just as a game to play and just say, you know what, my life is kind of like this, kind of like what you were saying. I mean, they would be able to learn a lot from the knowledge that you just dropped.
Well, see, here's the thing. The point where I started learning game was from like the occult science and spirituality, dealing with like the Native American medicine wheel, learning about mental transportation from the Kybalion and ancient future, about mental transportation, the 7 principles of truth. And, there's an ancient alchemy transportation saying, change the energy and you change the manifestation of mass. So I'm trying to like deal with these young men, to teach them deeper, higher stuff. But they still want to be focused on dealing with the women. So I decided to change to this. Okay, I'll tell you what, young bloods, change your driving. You change your lane. Change your vibe, you change your tribe. Change your swag, you change the manifestation of your game. But the reason now you see the reason why I'm wording that.
Oh yeah. I see it.
So in other words, by me giving them the bread that they want, they will want to deal with the gems and rubies and diamonds of life that I'm willing to teach them. So I got to start somewhere. So it's like the 3 degrees, of game. The 3 degrees of the game of life. The first level is sex, engaging in with women. The second level is money, and then the third level is power. Now, Max, real men vibrate on the 3rd degree. It's sort of like in Stolen Legacy, the mystery schools. You got the levels of pleasure, the levels of honor, then the levels of wisdom, philosophers. The highest degree is the philosophers, the levels of wisdom. And what is said in the scripture in the Bible? I love those that love me, those that seek me early shall find me. But those who hate me hate their own soul and love the ways of death. And then when I look at the Mackin, the first Mac that I ever read about was King Solomon in the book of Kings and Chronicles. He asked God for the ism, which is the street term short for wisdom. So he asked God, Yahweh, for the ism. And then after that, the reason why he asked him for the ism, because he said, God, I want the knowledge, intelligence. I want the game that I need to correctly finesse and bless your people. So like God said, because you asked for the ism, since you asked for the highest level of ism, I'm going to give you the highest level of finesse and game to where you be able to pull not only the power to you, but you be able to pull the money and the women and the glory to you. And the greatest literature of a man's mouthpiece is that book in the Bible known as the Song of Solomon.
Oh man, you just dropped a bomb right there, brother. Because that's sometimes, man, I sometimes I go to sleep with that playing, and
yes,
that book, man, it's to me, man, it's something magical about it, man, because it's like you don't even have to really even be paying attention, and you can just let it play, man. It's like it says the book, by reading the book it will make you wise, but it's not even where you just. It's like it's something that's spiritual, kind of, it just kind of something like it just makes you wise just by reading it, not because you necessarily understood it or memorized the stuff that was in it. It just somehow, man, just reading it just does something, man. It's crazy.
I mean, when you look at the Song of Solomon, you talk about Solomon and his Shulamite. In other words, Song of Solomon is where it's a holistic, what they call it, the Sunday type of love, where your spiritual love, the spiritual and the mental and physical love between a man and woman holistically coalesce with each other.
You know what I was? I'm sorry, man. I was thinking about Proverbs. It's Proverbs. It was a Song of Solomon. Yeah, I said
Proverbs.
I was talking about Proverbs. I was talking about Proverbs.
Well, to really, I gotta confess something. The first books that my mom had me read in the Bible was Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Solomon. Because in the Song of Solomon, you have the holistic type of love.
The relationship.
The love that's 3-dimensional, the love that flows on the spiritual level, the second mental, emotional level, and then on a physical level. In other words, not only are the man and woman hot and wet for each other, they have a mental, emotional affinity for each other. And then they have that agape to make it all good. That's what the Song of Solomon is all about, to where all the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual duties between a man and woman holistically coalesce to where it's a balance, harmony, and oneness that no mortal man or woman can break or put asunder. If you look at the word holy, it comes from that old Greek word holos, or that old Latin word hal, which means to be whole, to be healthy. But not only is your health your wealth, your health is also your holiness. So like I told some guys a long time ago, where holy people gather, there the holy place is. So like I explained to people, you got to be that which you seek. You got to be the vibration of that which you seek. And like I said to like in the chat, I told the women, if you want a high value man, you gotta have a vibration frequency that's high value. That's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
You got that.
You gotta be on that level. You gotta be ready for that.
Yeah.
You
gotta be ready for that level. You gotta like groom and train yourself to be at that level. I mean, when you deal with these high class societies, they take the young girls to charm school. They have the young girls learn different languages, learn how to play the piano or soul, and etc. Certain artistic endeavors that high value girls learn how to be high value society women. See, that's what the Jack and Jill Society is all about, to where they match the upper class boys with upper class girls, teach them simultaneously on how to be upper class men and upper class women. That's how it's always been, you know. That's why they have these events at some of these churches, to where
I'm hearing something in your background. I think it is.
hold on a second. Hey, let me put on mute right quick.
Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me clear up right now, brother?
Yeah, you sound good now. It just sounds like a little ringing.
Yeah. So the thing is,
LeTisha taking a break. Probably she'll be back on in a minute. She gotta.
I mean, because right, because when you look at the Black church, that's where all the social stratas, meet at. Because I got working class in my family, but I also got high middle class in my family. Like my auntie, A. Moran, she was high class. She was high class because she owned her own string of beauty salons in Little Rock. Yeah. So she was self-sufficient that way of upper class. Like my uncle, he owned a string of businesses, lawnmower, janitorial, and moving businesses.
Okay, so you had high value people all through your family.
Yeah, through my family, and also had working class people in my family. Like my mom, before she worked for the Timex factory, she was like a nanny and housekeeper for this upper class white people known as the Ellisons and Mr. Drummond. And when my dad was a toxic, baby daddy terrorist, my mom, my mom didn't want to work, but she had no choice because my dad wasn't doing what he's supposed to do.
Right.
So the thing was, she had a blessing to where Mr. Drummond and Mrs. Ellison helped her put a resume so that she can work at Timex. So she's been working at Timex. She passed away back in 2015, about a few days before her 75th birthday. Rest in power, prestige, and peace. And I thank Amun Ra that had the privilege of being raised up by a truly feminine woman who exudes the qualities of Mut, Aset, and Heteru, Because if you look at the ancient Osirian story, Isis didn't look for a new man. She learned from the Houthi how to raise her man up. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's what a lot of sisters and brothers don't understand about supporting each other and raising up each other. Because that red pill, incel, midtown, and feminism, that's the white folks bad. That's white men and white women's bad. And so Black women will come after their true divine power, which is their truly feminine energy, which they get from their ancestors, like Aset, Heteru, and Mut, the wife of Amun Ra. So when we look at ancient Native American and ancient African societies, it's not patriarchy, it's not matriarchy, it's family. It's government based on a family structure where the men play their role and the women play their role. So It's about holistics. It's about the holistic technology of family, because family is the foundation of civilization. Family is the first technology practiced on this planet. So when you look at segregation and what black folks went through then to the 60s, when a guy was in trouble, he had a cousin, he or she that was a lawyer. When somebody was sick, they had a father or a mother that was a doctor, and so on, where everything was taken care of within the family unit. And see, what these manosphere guys don't understand, okay, you said that the black community is in samples. How did it get that way? It was the Democrats, the white liberal, and the white liberal feminists came with the idea where they made a rule for us saying that, okay, if these black women want welfare, state benefits, they cannot have their man be with them. Now, before then, during segregation, black people were not allowed to have welfare state benefits. So, in other words, they had an idea as the welfare state as a tool to divide and destroy the black family. So, the co-conspirator with the white liberal, the two co-conspirators was that black minister, the pastor and preacher, and the dysfunctional black female who doesn't understand the power of true femininity. Just like you got some dysfunctional males who don't understand the true power of authentic masculinity. So we got to understand what agendas that they're playing on us in the social media streets. And we got to understand what these algorithms are all about, because the new grimoire or spell book is the template. And the spells that they cast are the algorithms. That's why when I come up with my own emails and certain things, I'll use certain names of Native American and Nubian Kemetic ancestors to offset that. Something that the ancestors blessed me with, and they're all, which they talk about in the Kabbalion and the ancient future. So when I deal with the 7 principles of truth, and when I try to teach it to the young black males who are so focused on women and the sex, okay, I'll tell you what. So I translate events, mood, and vibration. So I deal with this way. I said, I'll tell you what, young blood, if you want to change your relationship, you got to change your behavior, and then you got to change your mindset. So mindset, behavior, relationship, vibration, mood, results. That's how I break it down for them. Yes.
I have a question for you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. I'm trying to hear you over the music. I mean,
I can try to use it out. LeTisha, you want to? You ready for the?
Yeah.
You ready to shut the intermission down?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So it's time to get real. So Mac Bones,
Yes.
Are you married?
Are
you married?
No, I'm not married. I'm single, but I am dealing with certain numbers of women. Selective women.
Okay.
I'm 53 years old, but because of my masculinity, there's certain numbers of young women that approach me. And
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you're 53, not married. Have you ever been married?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I learned from the mistakes of my younger brother and other members of my family that if I am going to deal with more than one woman, I'm going to be honest about it. Because one of the people that I consulted with was the well-known dating coach Alan Roger Curry. Rest in power, prestige, and peace. The founder, originator of the Mode 1 direct dating approach.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have children?
No, I don't, but I have plenty of nieces and nephews and grandnieces and grandnephews.
Do you want children?
I will love to have children, but with the right woman or right women.
Okay, so what type of woman do you desire for marriage?
One that's confident in being a truly feminine woman, and one that respects authentic primal masculinity when she sees it in real time, in real movement. Just like when I see true raw femininity in real time, real movement, I respect that and I vibrate toward that.
Okay. What does she get if she decides to choose you? What is she getting in return? What do you do for a living?
Well, I am a security officer. I've worked at certain posts. I've also been like a bodyguard and investigator. You know, I help people deal with certain things. I've also been a boxing coach. You know, sometimes in my free time, I do mentor young black boys in boxing and learn a disciplinary culture and hashtag the game of life.
Okay.
Yes,
Do you like
because
if you
I even taught my niece and nephew how to box too.
right?
Yes.
So if you were to get married, would you pay all the bills, or would you require a woman to split the bills? Would you want a wife that stays at home?
Well, it depends on the situation. Now, if I'm able to develop a sovereign infrastructure where I'm able to take care of everything, I expect her to do her wifely duties as she expects me to do my husbandly duties. It's
What are
like
wife?
this. If she is well, the wifely duties are like, taking care of, cleaning the house, you know,
Okay, so
making
cooking,
sure,
cleaning.
yeah, and making
Okay.
sure that the children are cool, but she has problems with the boys, especially. She comes to me to discipline the boys.
Okay.
So they get out of line, and then try to look at her and say, no, no,
Okay.
you're gonna do what your daddy tell you to do.
Okay.
As
So
I respect your daddy. Yes.
right. What's the age demographic of women that you pursue?
Well, I mean, I've when I was younger, I dated older women that were in their 20s and 30s and 40s. Okay, but
Hmm.
then as I got older and became more grew up masculinity, I noticed there've been some younger women approaching me, asking me questions.
Wait. So
Like when I
what?
was, hmm?
Like when you say young women are approaching you, what do you mean by they're approaching you?
Well, they come up and ask me certain things. They see me maybe read a book or drink some herbal tea, or I have a talk with some friends of mine about things, and then they pull me aside and ask me questions about what I'm talking about. I mean, when I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, I dated a woman that was 21 named Karen, who I met at Whole Foods.
Okay. Who asked who for? Did she give you her number, or did you give her your number?
Well, I gave her my number, and then she called me and left her number, and then we just had a conversation at Whole Foods, and then
Hmm.
when I think was I wanted to take her out to the movies, but she insisted that we eat out first at the Whole Foods Deli, and then we talk, and then we just hang out at her place and do some things.
Okay. So you do
Because
recognize the women who are approaching you. They're actually moving in their masculine. Like they're choosing to be the
no,
male
see, no, they put
aggressive.
them in a place where I approach them, but then they engage me. In other words, I only approach women who are approachable,
Right. But
but they give me
you're
a certain look. Yeah,
right. But you're putting
but
yourself in position to be noticed, and then they approach
yes,
you, and then
they I approach
right.
them, but they approach me from a certain distance. I might be say like I might be working out on the bench press, and then what they would do, uh, like one lady would like go to the squat machine that's like about 2 or 3 feet away, and then she may smile and give me a certain sort of wink, and then I just go and approach and we just have a talk,
Okay.
that sort of
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, but the young
She
lady that you said approached you, and then you gave her your number, and then she ended
well,
up being
yeah,
in the
we
dynamic.
well when we first met, I was a customer and she worked at the certain department, the produce department. So we engaged each other in a friendly manner for a minute, 2 weeks, and then as we got more comfortable with each other, you know, she asked me what I was doing. I said, "Well, I'm doing thus, thus, and thus." So I said, when you have a day off, I said, "Well, I have a day off on Friday." So let's hook up and see
But,
what comes after that.
but do you understand that she was leading in this
No, she was
leading?
well. She was leading to where she wanted to get to know me, and then I led from there.
Okay, because
She
this
because
is
she asked so she asked me what she I said, hey, Ed, what do you want to do?
what
I'm
this
open. So
okay, but
yeah.
this is my biggest concern is that
Biggest concern. Okay.
men don't understand
Right.
how true femininity actually moves in society based off
Right.
of the conditioning and how we were socialized. Like we're made to think that a woman approaching, a woman asking for the man's number, the woman making the plans, we're conditioned to believe that that's normal and that's how it should go. And actually, it's not. And when I
But
come
that's
across
true.
and when I come
Yes.
across a man who is masculine, um,
Yes.
I'm like, you're putting yourself in a position to where now she's playing the male role and you're trying to play the male role and it never works out.
That's true. Well, what she did was this. Okay. She took the initiative to approach me and ask me what I was doing. And then she asked me, Edward, what do you want to do? In other words, she gave me the lead. You know, in other words, sometimes, like Ron was explaining, sometimes women are so attractive to certain select men, like myself, that they'll make the move and approach. Sometimes it happens like that. Alan
Yeah,
Roger
but
Curry called that mode zero. Sometimes it happens, but not at all times. But that was
yeah,
just a certain special case.
right.
But
So
most of
what
the time, I approached a woman. Yeah.
okay, what happened where like what happened between you two? Did you guys end up dating? Did you end up in a relationship?
Well, we ended up, dating a bit, and then we had to break it off because she found I was moving to Texas, to take care of family.
Oh, okay.
And and she knew that I'm the type of guy that other women like. So when I look at what happened with my dad, because he had a son before I was born, and I met him, my half brother. And then I realized the trouble that my younger brother got into. I said, okay, then I don't want to get in the same situation. Now, if I'm going to do this polyamory thing, I'm going to be honest. Some women can roll with that, some women can't. And then I understood, I talked to my uncle a long time ago. Why is it sometimes that there's polyamory with several women, one man? And then my uncle told me this. He said,
Wait,
nephew,
hold on. Why do you
okay.
choose why are you choosing the polyamorous lifestyle?
Well, because that's something that I'm comfortable with. Because I tried the monogamy thing, and then it didn't work out. But I understand that
You
due to
cheated?
the client, no, I didn't cheat. I was honest. I let the woman know that I'm dealing with another broad. Yeah.
Oh,
See, I'm
okay.
so I'm
So,
so different. Yeah.
oh, but you
See,
said
I
you
has. I mean,
hold on, hold on. You
okay.
said you
Go
were in
ahead.
a monogamous relationship. Monogamy didn't work out for you. So how did you know it didn't work out for you?
Because she was dealing with another dude I didn't know about, and I found out, and I left her alone.
Oh, okay. So she was cheating.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I asked, my uncle this. Why is it that there's a guy that has several women on his roster? And my uncle told me this. He said, nephew, several women would rather share a strong masculine man than share a weak, effeminate man. So when I was a Patreon subscriber, Alan Roger Curry, rest in power, prestige, and peace. I learned some stuff from his consultations because as a Patreon subscriber, when I was off his a few years ago, I received some free 20-minute phone consultations. Now I've been on some panels with Alan Roger Curry as well. And the last live I was blessed to have with him before he passed a few weeks later was where me and him were on camera face to face. And I told him an experience of mine to where I did uh, set some smooth verbal selection lines to this lady in a smooth, more one way, and we hit it off. And he smiled and likes that. So, okay, young blood, you finally get what I'm teaching. So
Mm.
I'm gonna understand what Ron Wills and cousin Tito Scorpio are trying to teach. They're trying to raise up a army of authentic masculine men who are gonna solve problems.
But I'm
But
trying to figure out.
but okay, well you're trying to figure me out. Okay, I got you.
No, no,
But
no. I'm just trying to figure out
okay.
how men who don't want to be husbands are expecting submission and femininity from women that they're just sleeping with.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like, how the game goes. I mean, even when you get married, you got to have game to keep your marriage intact, to keep other people from making it asunder. So the reason why certain marriages break up because there's something missing and lacking in the sexual factor, or the mental emotional factor, or the spiritual factor, or all three. And that's why there've been cases of like, adultery, innuendo, cheating, paternity fraud, because people don't want to deal with like the real deal when it comes to relationships. Like Ronald said, I mean, how can you talk about the relationships without acknowledging the sexual factors of that?
Yeah, but when it comes to a relationship, you have to, when it comes to a relationship and a marriage, the most important thing is to focus on meeting your partner's needs. As long as you're meeting your partner's needs, you don't need game. You just need to be an authentic person who understands your role is to serve. The husband to serve and submit, and the husband's role is to protect and provide. So as long as there's other things such as intimacy that goes into it. So as long as you're focused on meeting each other's needs, you don't need game.
Well, the thing was, what I learned from one OG is that game is simply this. Game is knowing how to do something and then doing it. And the thing about it, when I talk about the game, the relationship, I'm talking about the know-how, and the method on keeping it strong and maintained. There's an old saying in the hood: if you don't take care of your business, somebody else will. So we're talking about the mechanics of getting something together. It's like, here's how I feel. I'm about being a real, complete, and thorough guy. Being able to satisfy the 5 facets of satisfying a woman. Communication, security, entertainment, provisions, and sex. That's how I approach it in a holistic, facilitated way. The thing about sex between a man and a woman is a healing energy. That's the sexual healing song that Marvin Gaye talks about, where the man and woman heal each other through the sexual interaction of yin and yang, feminine and masculine. And one of the principles of truth is gender. There'll always be a male facet and a female facet. There'll always be a masculine energy and a feminine energy. And what I began to realize from my studies and experiences, that it's all about, living a complete and total life. So when the man and woman are in balance, harmony, and oneness with each other, they make one complete life instead of 2 half incomplete lives. The thing about game is about the path that leads to that. But in these social media spaces,
I get
what so in the social media spaces, I say the word game, dealing with these younger people, their attention span is short unless they're on social media. So I gotta it's like there's an old nation of Islam saying, you gotta go to the bedroom that the person slept in. If you're gonna wake up somebody in the bedroom, you don't wake them up in the kitchen. So the bedroom that our people are sleeping in is social media. So I've been asked on certain panels and certain comments if I'm ever going to be a content creator or write a book. And my focus is this, dealing with stuff in offline and in the real world before I get on this content creator stuff, because I told somebody in the chat that productive content comes from productive people and productive living. That's how it's supposed to work. From what I've seen of content creators in the space, like LER Movement, shout out to him. He wrote this book called Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father, Nick Taylor, Socialized 75, Carrie D. They live productive lives, and being productive people, they produce productive content, stuff like that. And Roger Curry, he was a well-known author since 1999 before he became a YouTuber. So was Ron Wills. It both came out in the late 90s. In other words, they will come out with solutions to heal the schisms of relationship dynamics between men and women.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I'm not familiar with all of those people, but Demetrion, are you there? Nope, I don't think he's there.
I'm beginning to think, sister, his thumbnail looks familiar. I mean, I think I may have seen him on certain other panels with other guys. I can't place him, but I've been involved. Well, my name Matt Bones makes me part of the Macosphere. That's the game sector of the Manosphere. Yeah.
He has his own YouTube channel, the High Value Man Cave.
Okay, I got you. All right.
And if you're familiar with Caravada Hair Care, he owns that hair care brand. So,
is that a website store?
Yes.
That's something pretty interesting. There was an OG friend of mine that told me that I should try to be part of the Silver Fox Squad. It's sort of like an upper level of classy, smooth, black men my age, because I'm in my 50s. And I looked at their Instagram. I said, okay, these guys are living the lifestyle I want to live. Getting in shape, building up their businesses, mentoring young men, attracting high quality women to their cipher. And I said, okay, that's the thing that I'm vibrating on.
Yeah,
that's the thing that happens.
Yeah. To make sure to Demetrion's channel, because that's what he focuses on. Yeah.
Okay. How old is Demetrius?
Demetrion,
I mean, sorry about how old is Demetrion? My bad.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. But he's part. If you look at his PTR, he's part of the Silver Fox Club.
Okay, I got you. Because I'm beginning to think if I be a part of that, I can mentor young black males to want to do better and be upwardly mobile. Because it's sort of like when I was like a janitor at LA Fitness a while back as a side job. There was a fight between young black males in the basketball court, and I came in with love and authority of OG manhood, and say, hey, young bloods need to put your shirts on. I want to talk to you. And by me coming in with that sort of energy, I was able to break up the fight without even having to lay my hands on anybody. So it shows that the creator saying that probably my blessing is to be able to teach younger people, that sort of thing. And that's why I was interested in being a content creator in the first place, not about the money, but about reaching people, help them evolve into, maturity, whether it be like authentic manhood or true womanhood, Because if even younger black females see that, they're probably inspired to be true feminine women as well. It's how the vibrations and frequencies flow in sync with each other. So I'm just like some of those things I put in the chat, those are actually bullet points for a book that I'm writing as day goes by. So I've been pretty busy. Sometimes I'll be having some mentoring sessions with younger black men in Dallas. Sometimes I'll be, dealing with family in Duncanville, doing certain things. There's a certain entrepreneur, shout out to Jesse Jones of the Muscle Click Incorporated. He has a YouTube channel known as Muscle Click. I've been talking with him behind the scenes about supporting him and his entrepreneurship, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to build a network. Yeah, a network offline before I build a network online.
Well, if you go over to and subscribe to at High Value Man Cave with Demetrion Ware, that's start.
Okay. Yeah, but because
also when I was you also have to understand when you're going after high quality women, they have expectations of a man. And
true that.
You have to understand that you would have to meet those high expectations. That is a man being on his purpose, He is focused, he's ambitious, he is driven, and he is succeeding in life, in all areas of his life. He's disciplined, and he's reliable.
So my inward nature is going to have to match the outward nature,
Correct.
so to speak. And a man's mission is typified and determined by his inward nature, his inward intent.
And just like
That's
how,
what I learned growing up too. Yes.
yeah, just like high value masculine men don't like to be played with, they don't like games. High quality women
Yes.
don't like games either. We don't like to be
That's
played with.
true.
So when you are trying to approach and pursue, you have to make sure that your intentions are true. You're being
Of
your
course.
self.
Yeah. I mean, I just break it down to consciousness, energy, and intent. That's actually how the religions and philosophies and scientists and connect with each other: consciousness, energy, and intent. You know, that sort of thing. Like, there was a young man that asked me what are the three basics I could get to concerning game and development. I said, well, it all starts with yourself. Your self awareness, your self reflection, which is the mirror work or the mirror talk. Shout out to C Boogie. We have that book, Mirror Talk, and also your self control. Master yourself. So it all goes back to your mastery and developing the self and knowledge of self. That sort of thing. Like I said in your chat, before one engages others, they first must learn to engage their real selves. And that's an ongoing life journey, by the way.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you for joining this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to go ahead and conclude this live stream. Yeah, I've been on air long enough.
I got you.
So thank you for joining. I will go ahead and put you back in the audience.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's going to conclude this live stream. Again, well, we started talking about the dark side of high value men. Not to try to scare women and say that these men are horrible, these men are monsters. The purpose of the conversation was just for women to understand that, there's an upside and there's a downside. There's pros and there's cons. And some of those cons are they are very demanding. They have higher standards, higher requirements. And that the women have to show up with some mental acuity, some intelligence, and knowing how to navigate and deal with these men. So understanding that it's not really your world, it's their world, and you're just a squirrel trying to get a nut in it. You need to have the mindset of you're going to align with his program and not try to establish your own program and not come in with an agenda. Be your authentic self and just keep it 100 and be genuine and true. And with that being said, make sure you all like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube, The Matchmaker with LeTisha Underwood. And until next time, you all have a great evening.